All right, here we go. Welcome everybody once again to the Sunday night wonderful world of Generation X. Let me make sure everything's set up right. All right. Looking good. Kristen, first one in the house over on YouTube. How are you? What's going on, Cindy? Michelle, hello. How's everybody doing on this Groundhog Day? Groundhog? Groundhog's Day. I would say Groundhog's Day, but I think I checked the hashtag on some posts I made today, and I think it's actually supposed to be Groundhog Day. So happy Groundhog Day. Evening, Brian. Hello, Janet. Hello, Dana. What's going on, Joseph and Crystal over in YouTube land? Bowie Addict. Reba over on Facebook, Brian over on Facebook, Tamara over on Facebook. Good evening. How's everybody doing? Hey, what's going on, Stacy? My birthday was great. Thank you for asking. What's going on, Wirehead? How are you, Jim B? Hello, Harry. Hello, Carlos, Karen, T. Sean, and Harry Robertson coming in over on Facebook. My buddy Kevin is in the house. What's going on? Good to see you. Lacey, good to see you. Hey, John, do you remember Shmoo? I absolutely remember the cartoon show, The Shmoo. My younger brother was one of his favorites. But whenever I post about it, people tend to forget. What's going on, Wendy? Happy anniversary. 7 months as an honorary Xer over on YouTube. Let's see. Stacy just coming in from a birthday celebration with a different John. Hey, Kevin Pearpoint, what's up, buddy? Hate that giant rat. He drove angry. I don't know what that is. What's going on, Andrew, my Gen X Goonie? Good to see you, buddy. Am I a veteran? No, I'm not, Brian. No Ravens or Bills this Sunday night. Exactly. Coming on right on schedule as a result. Hey, Alec, how are you? Hey, Kimberly Ford. Kim, how are you? Good to see you. So we'll start off by celebrating Groundhog Day. I guess that rodent, as Kevin mentioned, saw his shadow. And as a result of it, there will be supposedly 6 more weeks of winter. Now, I grew up in Western New York, and on February 2nd, there was no chance that we wouldn't have 6 more weeks of winter. Rat seeing shadow or not seeing shadow in Rochester, in Buffalo, New York, we were going to have winter well into April. So, at the very least, all the way through March. Yeah, Andrew, I did. Thank you very much for asking. Had a great birthday yesterday. That being said, I live outside of Charlotte right now, so winter's basically just barely blowing its last breath. We hit 70 degrees yesterday, and things seem to be going better. So I'm hoping that things will be better for us, and that 6 more weeks of winter is over for me at least. Depending on where you all are, don't know what to tell you. Thank you, Kimberly. Appreciate it. Part of Buffalo. I'm actually from Rochester originally. I went to school at UB and lived all over Buffalo for about 15 years. Hey, Sheila, good to see you. Arizona coming in the house at 75 degrees. Did I feel the earthquake that hit New Jersey? I'm in Charlotte right now, so no, I didn't. Kim Montroy, thank you so much for the belated birthday wishes. Marsha coming in from Chile, Massachusetts. Big spider on the wall. I don't see it. I think I'm okay. And if it's back there, it can stay back there. But it's funny. I just did a video earlier today about movies that I used to hate. Like there are certain movies that growing up in the 80s, in the 90s, I hated. And year after year, as I grew older, maybe they're movies that the jokes kind of flew over our heads when we were little, or maybe they're movies that we just needed the experience of age to really appreciate. But one of those movies for me was Groundhog Day. I hated the movie when it first came out in 1993. Something about the repetitiveness of it. Every morning he got up and heard Sonny and Cher playing I Got You, Babe, and it was like anxiety provoking. It bugged me. So I really didn't like that movie when it first came out. And now, all these years later, literally over 30 years later, 32 years later, it's one of my favorite movies. I love that movie. And maybe it took the the time in between for me to understand what an amazing thing it would be to be able to have a do-over. Maybe not an endless amount of do-overs, but the idea of being able to take a day and keep doing it until I got it right. Dude, that's kind of amazing. And the fact that there was like he could do whatever he wanted, good, bad, or otherwise, and he got a reset. So I love the movie now, but I used to absolutely hate it. Are there any movies going back to the 70s, the 80s, the 90s that are like that for you? Even some holiday movies. I hated It's a Wonderful Life as a kid. Couldn't understand how anybody could like it. And now I love it. Alyssa says Ben Almighty. Bill Almighty. I thought it was Bruce Almighty. I'm confused. Laura, thank you for the stars over on Facebook. Appreciate you. Yeah, exactly. Val's Black Cats. Phil becomes a better version of himself through that movie. But first, he becomes like once he realizes that he can do whatever he wants. I love that his first instinct is to become an asshole. He becomes a total jerk. He knocks out what was his name, Ryerson. He knocks him out cold. He's mean to everybody because he knows he can get away with it. Then he becomes a better person. And I like that because I think for a lot of us, I think we would in fact become jerks first and good people second. Lisa says hate Home Alone. Did you hate it then and love it now, or do you still hate it? Because I'm really curious if there are movies that you hated and then grew to love. A lot of them, like I said, are the jokes I didn't get as a kid. I don't think I really appreciated some movies as much as I do today. Bruce Almighty and an Evan Almighty. Hey, Deb German, good to see you. Negative 22 in QC. That's not good. Didn't understand St. Elmo's Fire until rewatching as an adult. I could see that one. I remember watching St. Elmo's Fire and kind of laughing at it. The line that Debbie Moore says about, I never thought that I could feel this tired at 25 years old. And she's just exhausted by life at 25 years old. I think that was kind of funny and laughable at the time. So we got a couple of trolls hitting us over on YouTube. See you later. Less Than Zero. I actually liked that one even back then. I loved the music in that movie, so that was pretty cool. I don't think I appreciated Ferris Bueller like I would have had I seen it when it was new and I was younger. I could kind of see that, I guess. Jennifer, thank you. Hey, Sarah, glad you caught me live. Hey, Deborah Mott, I see you there. Somebody said something about Top Gun. Bills should have won against the Chiefs. Am I a Giants fan? Nope. I grew up in upstate New York, so I followed the Bills. In the NFC, I don't mind the Giants necessarily. Replay the Muppet movies. The Muppet movies I liked as a kid, I kind of love them now. Especially like even the Muppet Show. The comments coming out of the old guys' mouths in the balcony, you got to hear them again as an adult to really appreciate some of the stuff they got away with. Night of the Living Dead for me, 16 Candles. People talking about Knight Rider in the comments. People talking about the Cheater Chiefs in the comments. I'm trying not to be a sore loser. It is what it is. I would lie if I said I was going to be watching the Super Bowl. I'm not. I'm actually going to be in Florida, Orlando, during the Super Bowl. So I will be in Orlando meeting people, making content, hopefully interviewing some celebrities at the MegaCon, which is in Orlando, February 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. And I'll be there most of those days. That Friday, I might spend a little time over at Universal with my oldest daughter. But I will be down there. If you guys are in the area, watch my content, take the cues. I'll kind of let you all know where I am and what I'm doing from day to day. But if by any chance you're going to be in the Orlando area, keep an eye out and maybe we'll meet up. Statler and Waldorf in the balcony. They were my favorite part. I mean, those were the boomers. Those probably silent gen at the time, but now they're representative of our boomers, just sitting up there spitting facts and kind of making fun of the kids. That sounds pretty cool, Kevin. I'm excited. Molly Ringwald's going to be there on a panel with Breakfast Club. Judd Nelson will be on it. Anthony Michael Hall will be on it. I think the entire Breakfast Club cast, with the exception of Emilio Estevez, is going to be there. So I'm looking forward to that. Some of the people from the Karate Kid movies are going to be there. Elizabeth Shue's going to be there. Billy Zabka's going to be there. The kids from Stranger Things are going to be there. I'd love to ask them what they think of, the parts they played growing up in the 80s, what surprised them, what they think of it, that kind of thing. I'm really excited. Don't forget to thumbs up and show your love for Jono. Appreciate you, Val. Keep that up, guys. Let's see if we can get some other people in the room by liking the live. What event is this, Michelle? It's called MegaCon, MEGA Con. It's a mega convention, and this one's in Orlando. And it's kind of like a Comic-Con, but it's really taking the 80s side of things and really pushing out 80s content. Thank you so much, Dixie. I'm originally from New York. I was born in Rochester, New York. I grew up in a small town in Western New York, and I went to school in Buffalo. What question have you got, Akasha? Sue, I see you on there. What inspired me to dive into the GenX pool? Dude, it's what made me, like, the words I thought it was just me. I am definitely Greek, Delkos. The words I thought it was just me inspired me. I made a couple of videos. Guys, if you have questions, put them up. I'll try to answer as many as I can. I had a couple videos do well, and in the comments, people related and were shocked that this was something that was generational and not just their experience. And that really, really stuck with me. Why do the Sabres suck? God only knows, but they've gotten really good over it throughout the years. Jeb says, I'm thinking of writing a book. I'd love to. I just don't know if I have the patience. Jennifer's asking Greek or Croatian. Greek. Both parents immigrated here. Said it earlier, so I'm asking if you could relive a period, day, week. Would you specific time period in mind? I'd love to go. See, I would. Some people joke and say I'd go back to the 80s and never come back. I've got a family here. I've got kids. I love technology. I love the era we're living in. I just try to reach back in time and pull the best of it forward. Yudo's pronounced with a Y, Kevin, for me. But if I could visit any era, if I could just jump back in time, and it depends on how we did it. If we could jump back into our former bodies and relive the moment, kind of like a hitchhiker in our own bodies and just watch this thing's played out, I'd love to go back to the early 70s, mid 70s, late 70s, I guess, when I was 7, 8, 9 years old on the playground, and just relive that time before technology came along at all. And then I'd love to go back to probably the late 80s, early 90s when I was like 20, 21 years old, just to see what a body feels like that can sneeze and not double over in pain. I'd love to go back to 1988 and relive my high school days with high school days would be amazing today. So I now know things I never understood as a kid, the insecurities I had as a teenager. I'd love to go back and kind of relive high school, knowing that so many of the problems that I created in my head were really just that, in my head. That people judging me, thinking about me, looking at me, wondering about me, talking about me, all that peer pressure paranoia was really in my head. I'd love to relive those days without any of that. But then we wouldn't be who we are today. But I'd love that. Irv Weinstein, I remember him from back in Buffalo. Did I play hacky sack? I was never good at it, but I tried. Did I have spies while growing up? Dude, the entire neighborhood was wired. For a group of adults that didn't watch their kids, because they were working, because they were doing other things, they had the town wired. If I did anything wrong, 9 times out of 10, my parents found out about it from neighbors, from other people, and the bike almost getting run over thing. Every time someone blared their horn at me because I came off the sidewalk and into the street without looking, my parents knew instantly. And later that day, my mom would be like, why Mr. Parker told me he almost hit you with his car? That was a thing. They knew. Now, fortunately, there was a lot of things they also didn't know. And that was what was so amazing about our childhood, this mix of Are parents really having eyes on us, either their own or somebody else's, and then them not having eyes on us at all? That if we walked out the door on a Saturday morning, June something, 1970 or 1980 something, and said, "Bye, mom, see you later," that was it. What does my shirt say? It says Generation X, parental attention was withheld. It's kind of like parental guidance is suggested logo, but I kind of reworked it in my shop. And instead of saying parental guidance is suggested, it says Generation X, parental attention was withheld. To our point, exactly what we're talking about right now. A lot of snitchers, Glenda. Lisa says that sounded just like her. Oh, I got my mom's accent down. She's downstairs now. I don't know if you're watching, Mom. If you are, maybe I'll bring you on for a few minutes. Got caught lying, sleeping at his friend's house, and it was terrifying. The worst thing about being caught lying was when we had time to think about it. Like, I remember pretending, thank you, Kim, pretending I was at my buddy Brian's house. And instead, we were camping in Fairhaven down the road. And then getting home. And of course, when I got home, my parents weren't home. They were at the restaurant working, but I'd get a call. And it would be my mother checking to see if I got home. And I'd pick it up. And I'm like, "Hey, Mom, what's going on?" And she basically be something like, "I know you weren't at Brian's house. When I get home, I'm going to kill you." And then the phone would hang up. And that was it. Now, that was at like noon. And Mom didn't get home till like 6. So for like 6 hours, you're playing just how bad it's going to be throughout the entire time. I remember moments like that. I remember my daughter saying things like, "I don't understand why you were so afraid. It's not like they were going to kill you." I don't know that we knew that they weren't going to. That's a terrifying phone call. The only thing that comes close to that phone call is the notes, right? When they would leave notes for you to find, like, "This house better be cleaned before I get home or I will kill you." How was my birthday, Doreen? It was nice. Quiet. Just kind of hung out here at home. Went live for a few minutes. Got to eat cake and do all those good things. Joyce Freeman, one of my mother's closest friends, is watching as we speak over on Facebook. It's nice to have people watching that have known me literally since the day I was like 4. Grew up with her daughter, one of my very best, closest friends. She could probably tell you stories. In fact, that time that I pretended to be at someone's house and was in fact camping out in Fairhaven, Joyce Tracy was with me. Not a bunch of us were together. Let me clarify that. Notes were on the envelopes. Absolutely, Dawn. The womp womp on the Bills. It's all right. I've been a fan for a while. I can live. Parents always seem to threaten us with death. It was always death. It was always death. "I will kill you." I don't know why, but it was. It wasn't, "I'm going to hurt you." It wasn't, "I will hit you." It was, a couple times I got the "I'm going to make you sorry you were ever born." That was also a common threat. I remember seeing TV shows back in the 70s and Greeks would dance and break plates. Did this really happen? It really happened. On my wedding. No, not my wedding. Actually, it was my brother's wedding. My godfather walked into the kitchen at the Hilton, put down some stacks of bills, grabbed a bunch of plates out of their kitchen, and proceeded to smash them all over the dance floor without permission. It's just a way of celebrating. It's just tradition. Now we throw money a lot of times as well, just to honor people. But the plates is to make noise and to celebrate. I don't know. "I brought you into this world and I can take you out." Yeah, I might have heard a version of that. Joycey says, "You little shits, I'm still hearing stories." And you'll never hear them all, I hope. But yeah, my mom doesn't want to hear the stories. For those of us that are blessed enough, just got a super chat. Notice Gizmo by the Soccer Bopper. "Would we agree that we need a third Gremlins movie?" To that, I'll say I'm perfectly fine with revisiting our movies with sequels that continue the story. That way I can like them or not like them, but it doesn't affect the movies we grew up with. They're safe. I don't like redos, remakes. Leave the movies alone. Make new movies. Expand on the story. So yeah, I'd be okay with another Gremlins movie. Did you get certain things taken away as punishment? David, in order to get things taken away as punishment, we had to have things given to us as reward. And I don't remember getting things as a reward. When we did what we were supposed to do, There was no reward given, at least for me, because we did what we were supposed to do. My mom would do things like take away things as a punishment, not to hold them from us, but if the house was a mess and there were comic books everywhere, my mother would throw away her comic books. She wouldn't take them away and hold them for a week, she would throw them away. And my mom was the kind that would rip them before throwing them away to make sure that we understood that there was no getting them back. We weren't going into the garbage to get them. She gleefully destroyed them before throwing them away. I appreciate that, Richard C. Philip says, my mom spoiled me. Oh, don't get me wrong. My parents were generous to a fault. They gave us Christmas was amazing. Birthdays were fine. My parents gave us what they could that we asked for, but those were gifts. We didn't get rewards for doing what we were supposed to do. Those were expectations handed out and expectations met. I don't think I'm alone in that. We could have gotten an allowance. That was an agreement. You do this and I'll do that. But that was different. And I didn't even get an allowance. Guys on Facebook, Andrew Bradford mentions the wonderful world of Gen X. Andrew just started a group as a result of these lives that we do. So if you want to look up Wonderful World of Gen X, go. I'm in it as well. It's a pretty new group, very small group. Just another way for those of us here to connect, and that's over on Facebook. Stacy says earned an allowance. Yeah, I didn't earn an allowance so much. I had the privilege of working at our restaurant, and I got to keep our tips. So if I worked and I made tips, I kept my tips. So I guess that's kind of an allowance, but it was given to me by our customers, not by my parents. But again, I will say my parents never wanted me going anywhere without money. I remember hearing all the time from my mom and from my dad, don't leave the house without money. You never knew when you needed it. So I remember going on an elementary school field trip to like the zoo or something. And we were told, and the permission slip came home and said, lunch will be provided. Please do not send your children with money, because some kids had it and some didn't. And the school didn't want some kids feeling bad because they couldn't buy souvenirs or something. And I went loaded to bear. I went with my birthday money and I bought like candy for the entire group I was with. I broke every rule in the world when it came to that. And my parents gleefully wanted me to. They're like, no. We work hard. We give you money. You work. You make your money. You spend your money. And they even when they got called out and the teacher's like, that's not how we do things. Whatever. Have an old friend who's Greece and stayovers at his house rocked. His mom was an amazing cook. Yeah, Philip, I was allowed to have friends over to my house. My mom wasn't big on us having sleepovers at other people's homes. She wanted us at home. We could stay out late, especially in the summer. Go play, have fun, but at the end of the night, you come home. My dad always slipped me $20. No allowance, but got money. My mom would flip my room upside down, set the timer for cleaning everything, bureaus, beds. Dude, when our mothers cleaned, holy moly. I know how to clean because I learned how to clean as a kid. My mom would set down the law. We didn't have sisters, so it was us three boys. And I got to tell you, us three boys knew how to dust. We knew how to pledge every surface of those giant television sets and stereo cabinets. We knew how to leave appropriate lines in the carpet. My mom taught us how to clean. But when my mother cleaned, get out of the house. Get out of town if you need to. Get to a safe spot and run. Because if she was in the midst of that one of those like deep cleans and we caused trouble or it irritated her, that was that. My mom was so strong. I remember those giant televisions. She could lift it with one hand while vacuuming under it with the other. My mom didn't mess around. Saturday morning was clean house day. I hated when she would do it on Saturdays because I'm trying to watch cartoons. And here's a memory unlock for some of you. If your mother ran the vacuum while you were watching TV, it didn't only like interrupt because you couldn't hear over the vacuum. The vacuum caused static in her TV screens for some reason. You'd lose the picture when mom ran the vacuum cleaner. Working on a family farm. Yeah, the static, so it's not just me. Good evening, John. What's going on? Never say you were bored. Yeah, that was a dumb thing to say. My mom would give us money to go out on Friday night occasionally. Barbara coming in from Brazil. Picture went weird. Yeah, it would look like a Skinamax scrambled signal there for a while. Had to put my hand on the antenna. Would that help, Rhoda? We just begged her to stop. We're like, Mom, Star Trek's on. Mom, I'm watching He-Man. Can you wait? And then she'd break out the pledge and she'd stand directly in front of the TV and just start with the wax of the pledge. And that's all you saw was her back in front of the television set. And if you're like, Mom, not now. Not now? When? When do you want me to clean? When I work all day and you make a mess? Deborah says even my paycheck was off limits to me. I started working outside of our restaurant at 14 because my parents wanted me to understand what it was like to work for somebody outside a family. And my mom and dad would collect my little paycheck and hold it for me. And the ideology was anything I needed, they were already providing for me. And if I wanted to buy something, then the tips I made at the restaurant should have been enough. So it's just a question of what more did I need. If my mom put on music, hope you had a happy belated birthday. Thank you so much. If my mom put on music and meant cleaning house time, my mom would do that with Greek music. Love the smell of certain cleaners. For me, lemon scented pledge and cigarette smoke is a nostalgic smell. My pay started at 83 cents an hour. I think I remember New York State minimum wage. The first minimum wage I remember was Gallows department store. I worked at a small, just jeans and Carhartts and sneakers, that kind of place. $3.35 an hour, I think. I bought Ray-Bans with my check and my dad made me take them back. $3.15. Golds remembers $3.15 an hour. First family to get the big ass satellites dish in our community. Philip got to keep his paycheck. I think everyone smoked in the car, even doctor's office. Which of all my 55 birthdays was the most memorable? Maybe 21, because I swear to God, my friends almost killed me. The amount of drinking, like not safe binge drinking that was done to me, with me, for me, on account of me, by me on my 21st birthday was ungodly. But you say remember. I'd say that was my least memorable birthday because I don't remember much of it, but I remember hearing stories of the antics, and apparently it was pretty legendary. Other than that, 16, because I got to go right to the DMV and get my permit. That was huge. Back then, we would all get out of school early on our 16th birthday to get our permits. But birthdays weren't a big deal as a kid. You know, I'd have a few friends over, maybe. No extravagant birthday parties. Back in our era, if you got to go to McDonald's for a birthday party, like actually have the McDonald's birthday party package, that was pretty cool. I went to a couple friends that had a roller skating party at the Finger Lakes Mall in the roller rink there. That was pretty cool. And then one year, I think I had an arcade birthday party where my mom let me invite like 4 or 5 of my best friends. And we got to go to the arcade and got pizza at Gino and Joe's, and they gave us like quarters to play in the arcade. That was really cool. People are so over the top with birthday now. Dude, they are ridiculous in some cases. And the keeping up with the Joneses thing is huge because your kids go to these extravagant birthday parties and then they're like, I gotta top it. And I'm like, no, you don't. I got nada an hour, got paid by my Aunt Joan. My birthday sucked New Year's Eve. Remember starting working at a donut shop for $4.50 an hour. Does McDonald's do birthday parties anymore? I don't think so, because I don't think anybody would want a McDonald's birthday party anymore. McDonald's, like our version of McDonald's today, compared to what McDonald's looked like when we were kids. When we were kids, it was like McDonald Land Playland. It was Ronald McDonald and Grimace and Hamburglar and all these colorful characters, and the stores were colorful, and the stools looked like food, and there was ashtrays on every table and a full-blown playland outside. Now they look like pharmaceutical factories. I mean, there's nothing fun about it. I don't know why. I really don't know why they did that. To blend in with the communities they're in, maybe? I don't know. Thank you for the belated birthday wishes, Denise. Finger Lakes Mall is on life support now. A lot of them are. I took a trip back to Buffalo last summer and I got to go through a mall that I spent a lot of time in when I was in college, 18, 19, 20 years old, Boulevard Mall in Buffalo, New York. And it was on its last legs. Macy's, I think, was one of three stores still open. It may even be gone now. I think it was about ready to shut down. And I got some footage, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I think it completely shut down now, Val. But at least I got some video footage. I got to walk through it one more time. That was pretty cool. It was like walking through a time capsule from the 90s. The pastel pink, salmon colored, green. I mean, it looked like I'd walked right back into the 90s again. Is Doug Flutie playing anymore? The only thing Doug Flutie is playing now are testosterone pill commercials. I was weird not liking fast food. The McDonald's birthday thing wasn't about the food. It was really the experience. They cornered it for an affordable type of thing. They made you feel important. They sectioned off a small part of the restaurant. They did the cake. They did everything for you. It was kind of cool. Are you on the east side of what? Not in Buffalo anymore, if that's what you're asking. I live south of Charlotte at the moment. They took the McFun out of McDonald's. McDonald's looks like a prison now. Good arcades have died out. Yeah, now you're right, Kevin. Now it's barcades. And there was nothing better than I remember when an arcade opened up in our small town. And they very quickly became places our parents didn't want us to go. For some reason, in town arcades in the 80s tended to cause trouble. It was our version of a dive bar, I guess. I don't know, but it was pretty cool at the time. There were games that I just was so good at that I loved that people would like come around. And people are like, "Oh, we stream video game playing now." Video games for us were pretty social too. People would put their quarters up and then stand behind you and watch you play until their turn came up. And if you were good at it, if you could get through a lot of Ms. Pac-Man screens, if you were really good at Joust or, those harder games, people would watch. How many people reading Mad magazines remember the magazines from the 70s? Alfred E. Newman. I remember Mad. I remember Cracked. My John, did your dad and mom give you advice growing up that you still live by? Yeah, some of it I think was unintentional by them and is no longer popular. The advice I think a lot of us got, let me know if I'm wrong, was if something's bothering you, if there's something going on in your life, for the moment, I just remember being told all the time, if I came home and said, I'm worried about this test, or I'm worried about this, or this kid did this today. I remember my parents often saying to me, well, don't think about it. Just ignore it. Don't think about it right now. I need you to go do this or go do that. So we were told to like put things aside and move on for a little bit. They didn't say forget about it forever, but it was always, forget about it for now. For right now, don't think about it. And that little bit of advice, which is really, really unpopular today, still works for me. Especially if I got things I need to do. If life is moving fast and I got things to do, I can't dwell on something I can't control. So that was part of it. Push it down. Forget about it. Don't think about it. Thank you, Clarice. I appreciate the birthday love. Thank you so, so much. I used to fantasy magazines. Is that what somebody wrote? I don't remember those so much. If you cried about something, they'd say stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. That was more in anger, I think. Am I in Charlotte? Yes, I am. I'm actually in Indian Land, just south of Charlotte. Teen Beat magazines, that was a girl thing, but I remember them being around. I remember Dynamite magazine, which they would hand out, I think, in school. And those were always kind of cool. Thank you, Clarice. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Having some connection issues, so I'm going to run. Take care, Sheila. Have a great week. Thanks for popping in. Had to go to the library to do homework, especially research papers. True story. The only time I could get away without having to go to the library is my dad bought a used set of, I don't know if it was World Book encyclopedias or Encyclopedia Britannica. He bought us a set, probably 1986, but the encyclopedia set was from like 1979. And I think it was missing Q, R, and S. But it still helped. Bye, Sheila. Good seeing you. Hey, Teresa. How are you, honey? Did you grow up in the Buffalo area? I grew up outside of Rochester. I went to college and lived in Buffalo later. So from 18 to about 29, I lived in Buffalo. Which, I mean, for me, I think of two versions of my hometown. The small town I grew up in, Wolcott, New York, was like mini Maybury. I was, hey, Mike Powers, you're not far from me at all, man. Really small farm town is where I grew up, Wolcott, New York. But I grew up in Buffalo, meaning like 18, 19, 20, those formative years. So there's two sides of it, I guess. I loved Buffalo. It was a great, great town to be in your late teens, early 20s. Couldn't take the encyclopedia out of the library to work at home. That's true. What's my favorite memory, Jay? I don't know. Oh, yeah, very good fishing in Woken. Bullhead fishing was one of the big things. My favorite memories, I guess, center around summer. Like summers when we were 7, 8, 9 years old, which back then was when you were just old enough for parents to like, go, you're fine, go, which is ironic because today, no way. But at 9, some girls were watching other strangers, kids, and babysitting. So that those years when we were so young that everything magic still existed in this world. We could pretend, we could play, we had these amazing imaginations. Bye, Richard. And yet we were old enough to be trusted to be out there alone. There were some amazing memories then. The things we did in the woods, building forts, climbing trees, making up games, building bike ramps, just crazy stuff. Though those are probably some of my favorite memories because they seem to stretch on forever. Each day seemed long, each week seemed long. Summer vacation at that age didn't fly by. It felt like it was 6 months long. Um, Building cabins and tree cabins in the woods and sleeping out. Yeah, all that stuff. It was amazing. Knowing where your friends were by where their bikes landed, right? If you saw a bike outside a friend's house, you knew you had other friends there. Um, I don't remember at that age. You were still so young. Clicks weren't quite yet a thing. If you wanted to hop in on a game and play capture the flag down the street, you barely even had to ask to play. That was cool for me. So good question. I think that would be it. Acorn fights. Who had a stash of girly mags hidden out in the woods? Funny you mentioned that. My buddy Mark and I bartended earlier today, and my buddy Mark asked if I'd ever found them. Why were they in the woods? Most guys of a certain age I know, if they didn't hide them in the woods, they found them in the woods. Mullet asks, what's this channel about? Just revisiting memories from the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. Talking about how things are today versus how they were then. Not better, not worse, just different. Having some fun comparing it. I think that sums up what we do here on this page. Good evening to you, Barry. Thank you, sir. Anyone get shot by a crab apple from a slingshot? Oh, dude, I remember a lot of those slingshots. Why am I a Chicago Cubs fan? That question comes up a lot. It's because my parents are Greek and couldn't tell the difference between the colors of the Bills logo and the colors of a Cubs logo. So at a very young age, when I asked for things like a Buffalo Bills jacket, I ended up getting a Chicago Cubs jacket. And eventually it just stuck. That and the fact that WGN let everybody all over the country watch Cubs games. Cindy Buckner nailed it. My mother's mantra, her quote when it came to things she bought for us. Close enough. And it was cheaper. Go Cubbies. I'm hoping for a good year. Andrew says, love playing outside all day. No worries, Debbie P. I've just always been more of like I said, and now especially 2016 is a year that I will never forget when the Cubs took it all the way. And God, we came back from being down. Riding bikes to the swim spot was the best. Big green machine. Never got my green machine. I had a big wheel. Toys that I never got that I always wish I'd gotten. Big ones are Millennium Falcon. Asked for it year in and year out. Never quite happened. Green Machine was another one. Got a big wheel that was close enough. That sort of thing. Remember all the designer jeans back in the 80s? Yeah, I remember girls going nuts for them. And I remember them costing like $50 back then. When adjusted for inflationary times, that was a lot of money. Wish my dad could have seen the Cubs win. Yeah, 108 years without a World Series. A lot of people lived their whole lives and never got to see it. At least 100, I would say. Hated guys designer jeans, so I stuck with my 501s. See, I was a Levi's guy. But in my town, like different places you went, different jeans, different clothes were cool and some weren't. You could always get away with Levi's where I grew up. No problem. But Wrangler jeans were not popular at all. And wearing Lee could probably get you beat up. For some reason, Lee was just not a cool jean for guys to be wearing. Hey, Luna, how are you? Good evening. Ryan Harry Carey was the best. Eddie had a Millennium Falcon. I hate you, sir. Had the Pepsi jeans. I didn't know there was such a thing, Anita. I remember the Pepsi shirts, which was basically a knockoff Coca-Cola shirt. Again, that was close enough and not cool where I grew up. My jeans came from Sears. I know a lot of people talk about the J.C. Penney plain pocket jeans, which was a pushback against designers because they were so much cheaper. Oh, Val just brought it up. J.C. Penney plain pocket jeans. Did I ever play BB gun tag? Absolutely. We had a 3-pump rule. If you had an air rifle, could not pump it more than 3 times. We always did. Ton of Hot Wheels. I had a ton of Hot Wheels, ton of Matchbox cars. And the unspoken rule when we were really young is if you had a Matchbox car that the doors opened, they instantly became wings, and those cars could fly. Hey, Short and Sassy, how are you? Were you ever into Real Ghostbusters? I was into the Real Ghostbusters cartoon, if that counts. Clothes came from a garage sale. I got a lot of hand-me-downs. I have an older brother who is 3 years older than me, and a younger brother who's 4 years younger than me. So as 3 boys, big, hand-me-downs were a big deal. Hand-me-ups sometimes. Like people would buy my younger brother something for his birthday, and if it didn't fit him, if it was too big for him, I completely forgot this memory. There was such thing as a hand-me-up. My mom would be like, well, your older brother can wear it until it fits you. So then my younger brother had to watch me wear his stuff until he could grow into it, and then he'd inherit it back. Voltron. Yep, I remember Voltron. Love your shirt. Thank you, Karen. It's available in the merch store. You can always check out all the shirts I wear, clicking on my link tree in my bio and supporting the page by buying some of those. In high school, Guess jeans were popular. Goodwill is my mother's favorite place to shop. We didn't have a Goodwill where I grew up, but we had like those discount department stores. I don't know if they were nationwide, probably not. But places like Jamesway or Ames were a big deal. We shopped those places a lot. I've talked about it. A lot of us that grew up in the 70s and 80s, I did have a small engine mini bike. I had was it a Honda? It was a Honda GT80. 70s and 80s, the 70s, man, we experienced as a country being broke. There were very few rich people in the 70s. So we all got used to things like hand-me-downs. Carter would give weekly speeches on how we could conserve energy during the energy crisis and, showering every other day or how many minutes you could be. It was all that. Joan says, I got hand-me-ups from older brothers. Got to have Corey. I don't know what that said. I'm sorry. Remember the style, my boyfriend's jeans? They still make them. My 21-year-old talks about it. Did any of either your parents' family members emigrate or visit the U.S. from Greece? My parents immigrated here from Greece. My in-laws immigrated here from Greece. And we've had family members consider it, come to visit and consider it. But it's not just our immediate family for the most part. 6 out of 7 hand-me-downs for sure. Long lines at gas pumps. I don't remember it. I just remember hearing about it. I remember the feeling of the 70s. Hey, Maddie, what's going on, buddy? I just remember, it was the shows from the 70s tell you what it was like. Good Times, What's Happening, Welcome Back Kotter, Sanford and Son, Chico and the Man. Those shows tell you what the 70s was like, one day at a time. That was real. People living like that. All in the Family, they were by no means wealthy. You could tell by the furniture and the feel of the show. My husband got 2 Star Wars toys each, one to play with, one to keep. That's pretty cool. What's going on, buddy? I see somebody joined us. Hair Handman 089. What's up? I'm millennial. Wouldn't it be great if I'd go 91? 91, I was 21. I'd go back in a flat second to visit. BJ and the Bear. Evil Knievel nearly got me killed. Rhoda, we can have all those feelings again. People talk about, I wish it could be like it was. It can be. Where are the Garbage Pail Kids? I was just showing them on a live yesterday. My best friend Matt gifted me these. This is series 3 and this is series 5. And these are literally from 1986. Garbage Pail Kids. 1986. Probably older than than some of the people watching, maybe. Still the gum inside, still the card inside. God only knows what cards they are. And I'll never know because I'm never opening them. But yeah, they're right there, Maddie. Gas crisis, odd and even days. All in the Family would never be on today. Probably not, but that's true of many of our shows. Not only do I, let's see, who is it? Dorinda mentions, does anybody remember Quincy M.E., medical examiner? Not only do I remember Quincy, why the hell were we watching? Like, I remember watching Quincy, and I'm pretty sure my parents weren't even there with us. Not something class of 84 in the house. It's insane, some of the shows we watched. Really not age appropriate. Not that they were age inappropriate, but why? Why would we watch? Quincy was one of those shows. White Shadow. Do you guys remember White Shadow? At least there were kids in that, so that makes it a little bit more. But I remember watching that. I remember watching Rockford Files. I remember watching Beretta. Kojak we had to watch because Telly Savalas was Greek. If I could be a character, John asks, in or live in a TV show or movie, what would it be? I wouldn't mind being married to Elizabeth McGovern from Bewitched. I think Darren was an idiot. If my wife was a witch and could blink and give me anything she wants, the last thing I would tell her is that I forbid her to use her powers. I'd have her hitting that nose every 15 seconds and giving me anything and everything I ever wanted. Hill Street Blues, I remember that one. Ryan, I appreciate that so much. Ryan says, love how you keep your videos clean and family friendly. When I do think cursing is warranted, and sometimes for effect, I think it's warranted. I try to even bleep it out then. But I avoid confrontation in my videos as much as humanly possible. I'm just more interested in what brings us together than what divides us. And I've had people say that they watch the videos with their kids and share them in a way that starts conversations. And I love that a lot. So no way do I want to make my content not shareable with kids. And that's a great example too. Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie. The shows we watched that weren't really filmed when we were kids. We were watching reruns and loved them, and I was good with it. I don't know when Bewitched went off the air, but I'm assuming long before I was really old enough to know what was going on, and yet still watched it. Thank you, Jay from Florida. I appreciate that so much. Thank you for the follow. Thank you for the subscription. What's up, Jerry Phillips? The Munsters was a big one of those. You're right. Addams Family was a big one of those. Bionic Woman I watched in real time. And I got to say, I don't mind saying, I actually think The Bionic Woman probably had better storylines than $6 Million Man did, although I love them both. Probably some of my favorite stuff was the $6 Million Man and Bionic Woman. Hogan's Heroes. Oh my God, I loved Hogan's Heroes. Imagine that pitch. Imagine that pitch today. going to a producer and saying, hey, I've got an idea of a comedy for you. It's going to take place in a POW camp during World War II, and we're going to have Nazis, but they're going to be funny Nazis. They're going to be friendly Nazis. There's going to be this one that sees nothing, hears nothing, and then the commandant's useless. But you'll see, it'll be fun, family-friendly fun. We'll call it Hogan's Heroes, and it'll be great. No way would that fly today. But we loved it. And I think LeBeau, the French character LeBeau, actually might have been a survivor of either a concentration camp or a POW in real life. So that's a good piece of trivia. You can fact check me. I'm 98% sure one of those is true. It was either escapee from a POW camp. Thank you, Wirehead. Appreciate it. You guys are fast. Meanwhile, yeah, Bob Crane was having fun of his own kind on the other side. Chips, Andrew, is one of my favorites. V. Joan was absolutely one of my favorites. I loved that. That miniseries was must-see TV. No missing that. He only agreed if the Nazis were dumb. That is true, Jay. That was a big part of it. They wanted to diminish the Nazis, to make them appear small, to take power away from them by mocking them openly. That is a great point. But I think those points get lost today. That show wouldn't get made today because they can't see the forest for the trees. If 6 people would be offended, then it can't be made because they can't risk it. All in the Family, people constantly mention. All in the Family was a show that meant to spread people understanding the evils of racism and the evils of misogyny and the evils of bigotry and all that. He was not treated as a hero. Archie Bunker was not lifted up as a bastion of society. He was just a real person that was a product of his generation, and they showed it, warts and all. And he was called out for the things he said and the things he did, and often paid the price within the show. There were learning moments. But when Edith died, no matter how awful Archie was, you saw him as a person. That was an amazing piece of writing for me. I watched that later on. Fat Albert, I absolutely remember. I loved Fat Albert as I was growing up. I do remember what's happening. I watched more of Good Times, though. The Jeffersons, if you watch today, the language used in those episodes wouldn't be allowed on non-cable television today. The N-word flew fast and loose. It also flew out on Sanford and Son. But it was representative of the time. If the intent was to make us laugh, that wasn't considered off limits at the time. Barney Miller was good as well. Yeah, Deborah, that episode where Edith died, I just remember being a kid and then seeing it again as an adult. It was amazing. Amazing programming. Who's the Boss? I remember watching. None of our stuff would fly today. Well, some of it would. Some of it's being remade close to what it was. But the best of it, I would argue, can't. Binge watching Carol Burnett. Carol Burnett and I Love Lucy are always shows that I will treasure for being shows that we watched with our mom. Batman, Wonder Woman, and The Fall Guy. Alice, we just lost Alice this year. Linda Lavin passed away. Andy Griffith, that whistle, never heard. Mr. Ed, I didn't watch much. MASH, amazing television. Didn't watch it much, though, at the time. Super Friends, one of my favorite Saturday morning cartoons. OG Roseanne, Greatest American Hero. Three's Company, should not have been watching, but we were. Too Close for Comfort. Benny Hill, shouldn't have been watching, but we were. Fish was a spinoff of Barney Miller. A lot of these shows are on Antenna TV. I watch them there. I've got an Android TV box. It's called VC, VSEE, and you can catch a lot of the stuff using that. Hey, Marge Malik, I see you. How are you? Good to see you. Emergency was good. You guys remember Adam 12? Starsky and Hutch. WKRP, best Thanksgiving episode in the history of television. Bob Newhart Show. The new Bob Newhart Show had the best series ending in the history of the world for me. When he woke up in bed with Suzanne Plachette next to him. And the new series was a dream. That if you haven't seen it, you haven't seen it recently. If you watched the old Newhart show or knew of it but never watched the new one, Google the series ending of the new Bob Newhart show. It is amazing. Dukes of Hazzard, Happy Days in Laverne and Shirley. Yeah, at the convention that I'm going to on Thursday, Henry Winkler had to back out, but Ron Howard will be there. Donnie Most will be there. Who Shot JR? I remember that. It was Kristen. Knight Rider. Think about Knight Rider, dude. Chloe just mentions Knight Rider. Knight Rider is basically a self-driving Tesla with Alexa inside now. We've gone full circle. We got there. We now have you can own a Knight Rider. WKRP is why I got into radio. I wanted to be Johnny Fever. SNL back then. Never saw Father Knows Best. I know of it. The old shows from back then that I remember well were Leave It to Beaver. My Three Sons we watched a lot. I have very, very dim memories of Family Affair. Jodie and Buffy. I just really, really young. I don't remember much about that at all. Silver Spoons I remember in my teens. Bosom Buddies definitely was something we never missed. Show from the 70s called Cliffhanger. I don't remember that. Airwolf was awesome. I remember that. Dude, so many good shows. See, this won't be happening 30 years from now. As soon as I'd say the 90s ended, the death of network television being an event, when everybody gets to watch their own thing, the vast amount of content that's out there makes it impossible to ever have the number of eyes focused on one television series the way we did when MASH ended. There will never be that many eyes on one episode of a show ever again because there's just too much competition between the different streaming services and then cable television and the channels and the networks. We grew up really focused on the same thing. If there was when V was on, the miniseries V, we all were watching it. All of us were watching it. And the other two channels basically didn't even try. They aired reruns that day. They knew better. That was amazing. That's why we have these memories. Every word I'm seeing scrolling in front of me is fitting. It's hitting an emotional mark with me because we all were 7 inches, 2 feet away from our television sets on the floor with Jiffy Pop in hand watching at the same time. Ever hear about Captain Kangaroo and Howdy Doody? Yeah, absolutely, Maureen. Howdy Doody was before me, but Captain Kangaroo was pivotal. I watched Captain Kangaroo, Mr. Green Jeans, The Moose, The Falling Ping Pong Balls, Picture Pages with Bill Cosby. Remember all of that stuff. Supernatural was the last good show until the last few seasons. Right around that era is when it kind of started to go away. You know, Seinfeld inherited Cheers audience. Friends inherited Seinfeld's. Cosby shows before that. That Thursday night must-see TV ran all the way through Friends. And I'd say Friends reruns probably get better ratings than most things on ABC, CBS, or NBC today. Do you remember the record-sized discs that played like video cassettes? Yeah, I never had a disc player for that, but I remember it. Bill Cosby feeding the children cake for breakfast. Bill Cosby's himself, if his personal life aside, and if you can separate that, then the comedy is worth watching. If you can't, I totally understand. I get it. But all other things being equal, his routine in himself, when he talks about him and his wife raising kids, when he talks about how he was raised, when he talks about giving, fatherhood was another good one. I mean, they stand on their own. If you can separate the evil of the man from the amazingness of the work and the talent, then it's there. I love both fatherhood and himself a lot. Roots, the miniseries, absolutely. We have a podcast, not so much a podcast anymore, really a talk show that me and two of my friends do every Friday at 5:30 on YouTube, and it's called The Three View Mirror, where we bring up 3 topics from our rearview mirror, 3 topics from the past. And then within those three topics from the past, there's a hidden connection. And a few weeks back, I had roots as one of my three topics. It was roots. It was tough to remember. But the connection, it was talking about the amount of people in the cast of Roots was unbelievable. Just everybody and anybody of that era jumped onto miniseries of the time. It was pretty cool. I think I might have chosen three miniseries. Like I think I did Roots, I think I did North and South, and I did V. So those were my three topics. And on the face of it, the connecting piece might have been that, oh, they're all miniseries. But the actual hidden connection was Star Trek, because LeVar Burton played Kunta Kinte in Roots, and he was Geordie LaForge in The Next Generation. The guy who played number one, William Riker, was in North and South, and V was about aliens, which basically is all every Star Trek episode had. So that's the gist of the show. And it was fun. I loved it. I loved the book a lot. I love the original limited series a lot, and the more recent one a little. Little House on the Prairie is about to get a redo, apparently, on Netflix. And they don't talk about the show. They're saying that there's going to be a new adaptation of the Laura Ingalls Little House on the Prairie's books on TV, on Netflix. And I'm kind of okay with it because, truthfully, the series we all grew up watching, name aside, had very little to do with those books, I'm told. I didn't read them all. So if this follows the books more closely, it probably won't be a lot like the show we saw. Never Ending Story. If I had the ability to be traumatized as a kid, that probably would have done it. The horse dying in the swamp, dude, I don't know how kids get over that. My mom worked lighting on the Captain Kangaroo show. That's very cool, dude. X-Files was, yeah, Artax, exactly right. X-Files was definitely fun, although I had the biggest hard time with the fact that Scully every episode, she'd start in denial, and then by the end, she would see with her own eyes the fact that, oh my God, that person really does have telekinesis, or there really were aliens here. And then somehow by the beginning of the next episode, she was back to being a skeptic. So her character annoyed the hell out of me. Did I watch Cartoon Kid Video? Doesn't sound familiar, Aaron. Vista Light, I loved Voyager. Watched that one with my wife. Robert Englund was on V. Yep, he was. Oh, damn it. Now I don't remember. He was one of the visitors, the nice one. Another series for the X-Files. Watership Down was traumatizing. I just mentioned it in a video today. It was literally rated PG, though, if you can believe that. Jill, I love 321 Contact. One of the best theme shows of any of our educational television shows. Love the Electric Company, Lisa. Kid Video had real music video clips. I have to check it out. Sliders started good and got weird. Agreed. All right, guys. Well, listen, it's getting to 9 o'clock, which means it's time for me to wrap this up. Usually come on for an hour every Sunday night, unless there was a Bills game on, which is not going to be a problem for a while now. Next Sunday, if I can, I will, but odds are I'll be driving back maybe we'll drive back from Orlando on Monday. So if I can Sunday night next week, I will go live. Keep watching. It might happen. It might not. If I do, it'll be live from Orlando, either at the MegaCon, if it's still going on that late, or directly thereafter at the hotel. But watch for me, please. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Keep an eye on the content. Help sharing it out. Really excited about doing it on scene and seeing what we can make of it. Grew up in New York, Debbie. Appreciate you guys being here. Housekeeping, we go live every Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube and Facebook, and also every Friday at 5:30 p.m. for the Three View Mirror on YouTube. I've got a new 3-night challenge going on Trivia Crack. If you guys like 70s, 80s, and 90s era trivia, go to my bio, check out the Trivia Crack link that's right in that bio, and that'll let you download their free app or play if you already have it. And it's just 3 nights worth of 3 nights worth of trivia challenges, and we'll see where you end up on the third night. Tuesday night, if I can go live, I will. It just depends on how busy the bar is. And that'll be from the bar, Tuesday night live, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube. Thank you for the safe travels. Thank you for, guys, I've gotten super chat donations on YouTube. People have sent Facebook stars. I've gotten so many super chats just through the comments on my videos for my birthday. And for those that did, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. As Kristen says, Redbubble. There's a link also in my bio for my merch. Guys, have a great night. I will tell Mom hello. I will see you maybe Tuesday. And if not Tuesday, then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from MegaCon in Orlando. Play trivia, cracks. See if you can beat me. For the love of God, someone beat Sheila. She wins week in and week out. Let's get her. I love you guys. Talk to you soon. Peace.